Hey guys, Luna here, and welcome back to our life. Let's just get right back into it, shall we? We're going to be doing a Derek's Soiree, which should be fairly interesting. I'm curious on how it'll turn out. You whiled away the morning to whatever struck your fancy. Now you are charging with lunch. With nothing on the horizon, you are free to spend as much or as little time on your plate as you wanted. It was while you were thinking on all the possibilities for your afternoon that your moms approached you.
Hi.
Hi, Luna. You okay? Mouthful, you nodded in reply. To your surprise, they both sat with you at the table. Based on the time, you had wondered if they were joining you for a meal, but neither of them brought anything.
Alright.
Great, we want to have a little chat with you. The qualified little did nothing to downplay the situation. You're chewing slow as your eyes widened, looking from one parent to the other. Anything that required both of them to talk to you must be something big. It was unsettling. You didn't like being the only one not knowing what was going on. Stomach churning, you waited for them to fill you in.
There.
Don't look so worried. It's nothing scary, promise. There's a soiree at the Crepe Press tomorrow night. Your mom and I are going. The Crepe Press is the country club your moms were a part of and where Elizabeth played golf. It seemed like every other month they had some event or another, all with the fancy names like Soiree. Chewing your lip, you wondered what that had to do with you. Mom chuckled at your poorly concealed reaction. Leaning in, Mom took your hand and squeezed it. We decided to make the night a bit special. Elizabeth's going to be allowed to stay at home fully alone for the first time.
Sorry.
You'll still be coming at the party with us. It's Elizabeth's night to party with no family around, not yours. Sorry, you gotta wait a couple more years. What's this? You're disappointed by the news. Crossing your arms over your chest, you lean back in your seat. So much for the big talk. It's all about Elizabeth. Don't worry, we're not done yet. There's something in this for you. You were not yet convinced, but you gave your moms the benefit of the doubt and listened. Your parents shared a look across the table. You cleared your throat, reminding them that you were waiting. They couldn't keep dropping such hints and then turn coy when the conversation was about to get good.
Well?
Since it's a pretty fancy party that's so being chaperoned, and attendees are allowed to bring a guest, we thought that it might be nice an opportunity to invite someone yourself as a date if you want. Your eyes widened as the words sunk in. Your moms took advantage of your uncharacteristic silence to continue filling you in on the event. Even though you'll be at the party too, you don't need to worry about us getting in your way. You'd be free to eat, dance, and enjoy the music as you see fit. But no leaving the property. Mom nodded at Mom's interjection.
Isn't that great?
Yes, as long as you don't leave the party and you rather just bring a friend, that's okay too. That's amazing. You must have lit up because your parents shared an amused grin.
Don't worry about it.
The soiree is until tomorrow, so you've got time. Just let us know your plans before we're heading out. And that's all. We're leaving you to your lunch now. Your moms rose from the chairs in unison, disappearing to another part of the house. You barely noticed their departure. All you could think of was what just happened. The remnants of your lunch stared up at you from your plates. You were glad to get back to eating. You wolfed down the rest of your food, clearing your plate as you thought about how you'd like to spend tomorrow evening. Even though you relocated to your bedroom, your head was stuck on the conversation that had unfolded on the dining room table downstairs. You knew that having someone come as a friend would be best. You felt most comfortable with that. It would make the party a lot more fun than going alone, and you didn't want to go along with the suggestion that that being your first date. But taking a friend required further decision who to invite. Lee wasn't an option. She couldn't just come by whenever. Your aunt and uncle had a rule that they needed more than one day's notice if she was going to visit you. It was too bad, since it sounded like the sort of event you'd love, though not so much that she couldn't easily tease you for passing up the opportunity to have an actual date. Cove was always easily accessible for hanging out, and you were certain that you would have him if you had a great time. Or maybe Derek could make it? Things were never dull when he was around, and while he didn't live in the area either, he was close enough to get a lift over on short notice. You decided to invite Derek. You were relieved to find the phone sitting in the cradle in the living room. Picking up the address book, you found your mom's kept clothes to the phone. You flick through until you found Derek's number under Soiree. You tap the numbers into your phone and wait for someone to pick up.
Hello.
Hello, Soiree's residence. Hello, Miss Soiree. This is Luna Mare. Can I talk to Derek?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's out with his brothers right now. Can I get him to call you back? You could wait for Derek to return the call. You had a little time. Thank you. That'd be really great if you could do it today. Let's see what I can do. Grabbed your goodbyes and hung up. Tried to relax in the living room somehow. That was as far as you can get into decision making. You left yourself sink down into the corner of your couch and remained stuck against the plush cushions. Your plane with AA was on hold. More than that, it was hung up on. But you had to commit to waiting to hear from Derek, so waiting is what you had to do. The remote had been carelessly left on the green stool, almost certainly by your big sister. You lurched over the armrest to reach the TV device. You stretched out your fingers and succeeded in pressing down the on button. When flopping back down on your seat, you caught a glimpse of what had appeared on the screen. The subject was playing a How It's Made mini documentary type of show. The subject of the episode was pre-packaged crackers. You didn't have the motivation to actually pick up the remote or change the channel, you simply let it play. After discovering how ice is added to the flour when mixing the wet and dry ingredients, a jingling ring came in from across the room. Someone was calling. You went to answer it. I maybe bundled nerves, but went to answer it. Hi, who's this? The initial answer you got was a series of cheerful chuckles. Hey Derek, it's Luna. I'm really sorry I missed you calling before. I was watching the Little Bros at the parks. Mom came to find me. She did? Yeah, so I could call you back. Oh, Mrs. A did you a big favor. Could you tell it was important? But hey, thanks for calling. Was there something you wanted to talk about? Yeah, I'm going to a soiree tomorrow with my mom's at the Cypress Country Club.
Cool.
You gotta tell me whenever you get back.
Cool.
Will you come with me? The pitch of his voice shot up.
Really? No way.
I could come too. I want to come. That's great.
It's all good.
It's gonna be so fun. A muffled feedback masked Derek's voice as he talked on. He was moving around. You could easily picture him bounding about his apartment, phone still.
Oh man.
What do you think they're gonna have at the soiree? Dancing, music, sparkly drinks, maybe? Probably. The Cypress usually has some pretty fancy parties. So cool. The anticipation between the two of you continued to rise, just imagining what tomorrow might bring. But the party you were already staring at was interrupted when Mom ambled back into the living room. She almost gave you a shout to greet, but caught herself when she noticed you were on the phone. Mimicking the current position, Mom stuck out a thumb and pinky finger and pressed the hand against her ear At the same time, her lips stretched forward to slowly mouth the word who. Can you hang on a second? I gotta answer my mom. He spoke into the phone.
No worries.
Tell her I said hello. Leaving things with him there, you lowered the phone to the counter. So what's happening? I'm talking to Derek. He says hello. Derek Soiree. Her eyebrows arched in curiosity, but she still wore a grin. And did he happen to call out of the blue, or was it you who gave him the ring? Maybe you had to ask a certain question. Yeah, he's the lucky guy I asked this soiree. Okay.
So,
is it a date? Her voice was light, teasing, and it was painful. You could only hope Derek hadn't heard that. We're just gonna hang out the party together.
sounds good.
Makes sense to me. It'll be a hoot to have him along for the ride. Would you mind if I borrowed the phone? I'll give Derek's parents a call and get everything scared away. Alright, I'll tell him. He nestled the phone against her shoulders and cheek to speak directly into it. Derek, my mom wants to talk to you about the soiree tomorrow.
Awesome.
Watch it up. Bye, Luna. Bye.
See you later.
Take care, Derek, and see you soon. There were some other giggles that snuck through before all sounds of the other side cut off, making the end of the conversation. You got the receiver out, and Mom showed over to pluck it out of your hands. Thank you very much, kiddo. Your part of the prep work was finished, and the rest of the afternoon passed by just like that. Back in your room, your mind was abuzz with visions of tomorrow night. The soiree was an exciting prospect, now that you got to experience it with Derek. You just hoped that he'd have a good time when it was all said and done. The evening of the soiree had arrived. The daylight hours had slipped away in a blur. Up in your bedroom, you were getting ready for the big event. That was your intention, at least, but you hadn't settled on an outfit. Stationed in front of your wardrobe, you scanned over the clothing you had at your disposal. Though Mom had mentioned that this event was a bit dressier than a normal get-together, you didn't necessarily have to comply. You looked for something formal. You attempted to decide between the nicer pieces in your wardrobe, the ones that rarely had a chance to come out. You decided to dress formally because... felt like you had to. Everyone else would be dressed up to the nines, whatever that meant. If you showed up in the everyday look, then everyone else would give you funny looks all evening. You want to deal with the hassle. To start, you decided to wear... as much as I like button-down shirts, they're always such a pain. Oh, a blouse. A pretty blouse was a strong start. It could pair easily with just about anything, and still the print of the fabric would give you a distinct look. You paired your top with dress pants. As much as I like skirts, they're always kind of a pain. Dress pants. You picked a pair that complemented the color of your top and nodded along with satisfaction. It was a slick look. You began to get dressed, and your fingers working stiff to zips and awkward fastenings. It felt different against your skin, reminding you with every moment that you were dressed up. You grimaced, telling yourself that it was probably just for one night. You could put up with it for that long, probably. Now dressed, you gave yourself a final glance over before heading downstairs, ready to head out. You found your mom's already waiting in the living room. They were putting on the finishing touches on their outfits. Mom strapped her heels into a stiletto shoe, and Mom was trying to fasten a bracelet single-handedly. Oh, they look absolutely gorgeous. Like, I love this gorgeous, like, blue sham, I think that's what it's called, along with a pair of this blue... Oh, God, it looks so gorgeous. I love the design of, like, the flowery black, I don't know, top sham thing that the other mom has. Oh, God. These outfits are adorable. I love them so much, and they look so good for them. Whoever's the artist for these games, they just do such a nice, lovely work, and it's just so amazing. They looked up to you as they entered.
Oh,
Luna, you look so nice, don't you think so, Pam? Your expression spoke the words you were holding back, making your mom's laugh.
thanks.
Thanks for dressing up, Luna. Once tonight's over, you can put those clothes back to your closet and forget about them for another few months. Mom was still struggling with the bracelets. You lent a hand, literally, by taking one side and holding it as she secured the clasp. Thanks, kiddo. Elizabeth floated down the stairs, her eyes narrowed.
What?
You still here? Yes, but not for much longer, hopefully. Wait, I know you're excited, but we haven't even said goodbye, and I want to go over all the things that are going to play out. Elizabeth sighed, and his mom began listing the rules, ticking them off on her fingers. No ordering takeout or other deliveries. You can't anyone else have come over.
Uh-huh.
She nodded, resigned to her fate, listening to a set of rules she could predict without so much glancing at a crystal ball. If anything happens, you can call us or go across the street to the Holdens. Keep the noise down. The house may be empty, but there's still a lot of people around the neighborhood. Usual house rules still apply. Don't do anything you wouldn't do if we were here.
Alright.
And we'll be back no later than 11:30, but we'll call if there's any issues, so don't tie up the phone line all night. Alright, hold on. Can we go now? Ma showed Pat over and shoved Elizabeth into a hug. Your sister let out a small noise, her eyes widening, and suddenly looked much less like the smug teenager she acted like. Such a big girl now, I still can't believe it. Elizabeth rolled her eyes. This wasn't the quick departure that she'd been hoping for. Any chance of it ending soon vanished as Mom joined the hug. Neither can I. It feels like it was only yesterday that... Elizabeth groaned, trying to cut that reminiscing off without success. We joined in on the hug. Mom and Ma held out their arms as you approached, welcoming you into the hug. Elizabeth winced, eager for this to come to an end already.
Jeez!
Can you all go now? Jeez, just shoo, go away! Your family disentangled from the hug in time to catch the doorbell ringing. That must be our guest. She hurried over to the door. As Mom predicted, Derek had arrived on time, and he was ushered inside.
Oh, nice.
You look very nice, Derek.
Same.
Oh, he looks all adorable and all dressed up. Thank you, Miss Mare. So do you. Derek pulled out the ends of his little polka dot bow tie and said, I love bow ties. Bow ties are just so fun and quirky and much easier to manage than a tie. His gaze, though, not so subtly sought you out. That's going to you too, Luna. Classy. His words took you by surprise. Derek usually avoided making comments on your appearance, but you were happy to accept the compliments. You inspected his outfit in turn. Love the bow tie, Derek, you teased.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of goofy, but it's also kind of popular. But to be serious, I do think you look good. Thanks. Now that Mom had finished reading the rules to Elizabeth, who then scurried off to the sanctuary of her room, she came over to greet Derek. Hi, Derek. It's nice to have you along for the ride. Thanks for taking me.
You're welcome.
It's no trouble. You're always welcome. It should be a fun night. Ma appeared, clutching a purse and wearing a huge smile. Agreed, but we should get going. And oh, before I forget, thank you so much for getting here on the dot, Derek. That's appreciated.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, Miss Mare. Always polite, huh, Derek? You like your teeth. You're still the ideal guest even with the long trip here. Yeah, I was going to be late for this. Carefree laughter and conversation flowed from Derek.
Oh, man.
Man, I told my mom it was 30 minutes before it was actually... Man, I told my mom it was 30 minutes before it actually was. I was definitely going to be here before it's time to go. Wait, when... Your mom got here... Your mom got here 30 minutes late? Derek swooped his hands back and forth in front of him, almost making X sign of rejection as he rapidly tried to explain. No, it's not her fault. Mom got me here on time, so it's like 30 minutes before now.
Well...
I didn't want to interrupt you and your mom's because you were probably getting ready then, so I just hung out at the park. With a wink, Derek tried to smooth things over with the awkwardness of that confession. Jeremy never popped out of the bushes to insult me, so it's all good. Honestly, he's adorable. You can come inside my house whenever you want, Derek. He kicked up his leg bashfully, giggling the whole time. Thanks. I wanted to make a good impression, but I know you would have been cool about it. And even if I did, I would have been bored for a while. At least it was here in your neighborhood. You never know. It would have been traffic, or what if George fell off a gate and broke his collarbone again? George fell off a gate and broke his collarbone before? Yeah, when he was 8, but... You invited me to a soiree. My life would have been over if it was just one of those things that came up and, like, oh, well, I guess we're not going after all. It happens. Derek was drowning in the conversation of his own making. He chose to put a stop to that, building a dam before him in it. Sorry, I don't want to be all complaining when we're going to a party. And besides, coming early isn't going to matter if we're late because we kept talking about being early. Let's catch up with your moms. Right, better hurry. You pulled up at the country club. The sun had sunk deep into the horizon, less of its light seeping warmly onto the oncoming night. Your mom settled the waste space around the back where the event was being. Again, I love these outfits. I wish... I want both of these outfits so bad. Like, realistically, I would, I love the, little thing with the little, shawm of this one. But I love the kind of, the low-cut jacket of this one. And I love, oh god, I just love these outfits. The place had been transformed through decoration, with smart tablecloths and elegant ribbons contributing to a festive atmosphere. Musicians dressed up in matching black and white and were setting up in their instruments and flicking through pages of sheet music. And, as promised, there was a table covered in plates of carefully prepared food. Destination reached, your parents rounded you on you and Derek. Things haven't kicked off yet, but don't let that stop you from enjoying yourselves.
Have fun.
Have fun. We'll be around if you need us.
See you later.
See you later. Bye. Derek enthusiastically waved your moms off, stretching his arms high as it would go. Bye, Mrs. and Mrs. Mayor. Once they retreated a distance away, you found him watching you. His eyes sparkled at the daintily dangling lights all around you as outing together officially began. Is there anybody you want to socialize with? That's what parties are for sometimes, or we could go get refreshments. We can go look at this. Like, as much as I would be realistic of, like, let's go introduce you to people, me being me, I'm just like, we can go look at the snacks. It's okay to eat them, even if the music hasn't started yet.
Let's go.
Let's go see what we've got. The two of you wandered over to the refreshment table. With it being early in the night, it had barely been touched, and the plates were nearly as pristine as they left in the kitchens. The offerings were all tiny and bite-sized, ready to be picked up and sampled. It was immediately apparent that there was plenty to choose from. Just from the level of care with which it was presented, it was clear that it was fancy stuff. Derek perused the options with a scrutinizing eye. From one end to the other, his gaze swept across the entire scene. He took a few sniffs for good measure. They put these together themselves, or they hired a catering company to come here and make them. But it's really fresh. That's great. But only some of it's any good. You examined the table itself like a detective at the crime scene. That one's so sour your tongue will shrivel up. That one looks like chocolate, and it is, mostly. What else is in it? Bacon? Figs? Nastiness.
I gotcha.
Okay, can you get that at a grocery store? Yes. yes, you can. You shook your head and chuckled back and forth. At least you'd be getting something from visiting the table. Good food wasn't anything you'd be getting from it. Without much thought and without much shaking with time, Derek scooped up only a couple appetizers onto his plate. The rest were left for other guests. You picked only certain options. As much as you liked the food on offer, you knew your own limits and preferences. So do you like it? His face turned away hesitantly. Honesty was conflicting with properness, but he tried to walk that line.
Honestly,
Not that much, but they really tried. A lot of parties use pretty cheap stuff. Yeah, I like that you can only get this stuff here. The company was even better than food. After going through a round of sampling, continue munching on you continue munching on refreshments. The tastiness and chatting continued until you both thoroughly finished with the food. You're more than ready to not even look at another hors d'oeuvre. Derek? Is there anything you want to do? Letting the next move be up to him, Derek restlessly looked around the party. He's squinting his eyes and really considered the possibilities. Then he gave an unassertive answer.
well,
Well, if it wouldn't be a big deal, would it be alright if you showed me around? I've never seen this place, so, we could go on a walk? Derek's pointed fingers tapped into a rhythm across the edge of the snack table, like he was spelling out his answer in text on a typewriter. Yeah, definitely. I'll be your expert tour guide. That's adorable. Thanks. Derek happily trotted ahead, checking over his shoulder to see where you were coming to. He made sure to keep up with his pace. It led down a familiar stone path walking. You knew would get far. Your lovely stroll around the country club grounds began in earnest. The bustling sounds of the party soon faded away, replaced by whispers of cricket songs and the serene summer breeze. Along that way, you adjusted outward to point out what buildings were what, from simple storage sheds to special club rooms for VIP members. And you were able to tell Derek all about the golf holes in the distance that you passed by, including how good or bad your big sister was completing them. You had a chance to tell the funny story of when, one time, she got a penalty for a strike that landed in a water hazard. She had jumped right in the little pond to retrieve the ball and tried to pretend it never happened while dripping wet. Derek was amused as he was amazed. He engaged at you by making silly guesses about what you would tell him about next. Derek jokingly suggested that a normal garage was a research facility studying how to add extra green to the grass. You're so absorbed in your companion for the outing and having the space to yourself that you didn't realize that growing a humdrum around you until it was right up around the corner. Derek paused. He noticed it too. Oh. His eyebrows quirked as he tried to reason out the disturbance.
Huh?
Is that people? Did we just make a loop and I missed that? No, we're on the opposite end. It's about as far away as the vent as it could be. Huh. Curiously, Derek took big strides when mentally puzzling over what you said. Together, you passed by a large wall to reveal another seating area. It, too, is filled with formerly dressed people.
Whoa!
A second party? None of the faces scattered about were regular members. Each one was as unrecognizable as any stranger off the streets. You had your points of focus, and Derek was totally Derek had his own totally separate ones. He spoke aloud to share what he noticed. The tables have cloths here, and you'd think the chairs didn't look like that back at the tables where we were. Actually, this kind of feels like we got stuck in some alternate reality version of our Soiree, where everything is still really fancy, but also still different in weird ways. You can get over Derek's misunderstanding of things. This is their outdoor dining seat area for other types of events, ones that aren't normally the soirees. Never had a reason to go here when I was visiting with my moms. I kind of thought it would be empty with the soiree happening. Derek's gaze wandered across the area, taking another shrewd look. Yeah, why be in this place when there's food and pretty lights over in the patio? There'd be way more teens than at our party. Tons of them look like they're our age. This is mysterious. Long wish the questions didn't bother Derek. Quite the opposite. Playing detective was something he was having fun with. Time to get to the bottom of this. I'm gonna ask somebody what's up. Wait, Derek, are you really gonna do that? You whispered nervously.
This is gonna be great.
You can leave it to me, Luna. I'll talk. And he wearily followed behind him. Derek boldly headed to the thick of the family reunion, business meeting, wedding, secret society meeting, or whatever it was. Soon you know. Why, you look interesting and handsome. Very, 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 very interesting. The subject Derek zoned in was a tall kid, maybe a little older than him, who stood out on the edges of the crowd by themselves. Most of everyone else was part of the group or in one-on-one conversation, but not that person. Their hair was short, swooping black strands that framed pointedly petite face. Their dark brown eyes were heavily lidded. On a second glance, you also noticed that there was one small mole on their neck. You would have been surprised if people haven't told you that... You wouldn't have been surprised if people often told them that they were pretty. The rest of their skin was pale white, the kind that had somehow escaped any tanning, freckling, or even sunburning in California's summer rays. Derek offered a friendly wave once he was close enough for it to be clear he wasn't just passing by.
So
this might sound weird, but what are all you guys doing here? A coy smile came across the stranger's face. We're visitors who are in for this town for a dance circus. This dining area is reserved for our company only for tonight. What's going on with you? The tables were immediately turned. You and Derek had questions to answer for. He rubbed his cheek and chuckled uncomfortably.
oops.
Yeah. Oops, we didn't know that. There's a soiree happening on the other side of the club for members and their guests. That's where we came from. Please don't tell on us. That got them to open their eyes completely. They even leaned forward just a bit, much more engaged in the conversation. I thought I noticed something that way. It'd been bothering me the entire evening. I was planning to check it out when it got darker. Well, yeah, that's what it's for. Sorry for crashing the party. Don't apologize. The self-described dancer's eyes sunk back into their half-open state as their lips curved in further. The smile had become a true smirk. I'm still going to yours when I get the chance. Their mutual exchange of secrets brought a lightheartedness sense of camaraderie between your tiny group. But it didn't last. They inclined their head in a slight nod before breezing away. Bye, good luck with your dance circuit and everything else. Thanks for talking with us. As soon as your vague acquaintances mixed back into the crowd of fellow suited performers, Derek wrapped his arms around his chest. Okay, I feel way more out of place now that we're not even talking to anybody. Let's go back to the path before one of the dots realize we're not supposed to be here. It's gonna be like that movie with the aliens who take over people where they point and yell at real humans. So freaky. If you want to leave, I don't mind. Derek's expression tense with grim seriousness. He took extra steps towards you, never taking his eyes off the surroundings. Some of the other guests had already begun directing lingering glances at the two of you, unsure of your presence there. Their closeness allowed you to hear conspiratorial words said under his breath. How are you going to handle this? You just need to pretend we belong and walk out. Try to ignore the stares, and you made your break for it. He hooked arm around Derek and began to walk out.
Oh.
After a bit of a stumble, Derek evened his poise and properly took your arm. He kept his head high, chest out, chin pointed, and pumped his other hand back and forth in time with his footsteps. The act was more of a parody of fancy pants rich person than normal persons at a get-together. But Derek had always had to give it things his all. Foot by foot, the way of freedom grew closer. After passing a group of people, an unfamiliar voice hit your ear from behind. Excuse me, do you know where your parents are? The server may have honestly been wondering, or might have been a veiled method to call you out and not belonging in the politest way possible. That didn't give you change the fact that you were spotted waltzing around a private party you weren't invited to. The next sound that made its way through your pounding heartbeat was a far more familiar whisper.
Shoot.
Run. You didn't hear anything else. The two of you were in sync. Like a switch was hit, you burst to your full height and used the momentum to launch yourself forward past the failed hiding spot. You lost hold of each other's arms in the sprint, but you kept to each other's sides. Dramatic escape causing a minor ruffling of feathers throughout the crowd. Shouts of, "Hey, stop running!" and other similar phrases could be heard over the confusion of what was going on. It was just Derek had feared, but no one was actually chasing you, as far as you could tell. However, neither you nor Derek were taking chances. He kept up the frantic pace. You were escaping the metaphorical aliens. Your throbbing heart was caught up in your throat as the pounding feet propelled you down the same track you'd come from. Being dressed in your Sunday best didn't help matters, and it may have been fitting for summer soiree, but it didn't fit at all for situations like you somehow ended up in. It seemed you and Derek had a knack for winding up in positions that required a hasty retreat. At least at that time you could get away for good. You wouldn't have to go home to face the music like you ditched Elizabeth on the first day of vacation. Once you made it halfway back across the country club, you finally slowed down to a full stop, breathing a sigh in relief. Your face was flushed with heat, but a chill began to seep in the evening wind brushed over your beads of sweat on your skin. You got goosebumps along your arms. It was invigorating. Meanwhile, Derek wiped his forehead with the palm of his hand, likely missing those plush wristbands he almost had always on, glancing up at the sky.
Good job, team.
Looks like we shall live to see another day. We're practically criminal masterminds now. Yeah, basically, if I had a particular partner in crime, if that's cool with you. The rest of the walk back was indeed a walk. You could relax at a slow pace, enjoying the quiet reassurance of being alone with Derek. The rest of the world was unable to reach you for a little while. Nightfall had long passed by the time you and Derek found your way back under the dazzling lights of the summer soiree. Mom would say it's not fashionable to be late, but maybe that's when it's your second time arriving at a party. It might have been to Derek. He looked in the scene with new eyes, amazed once again by the elegance surrounding him. With a tilt of his head, he shouted a chummy grin at you.
Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely did have to be here for this. It's a real-life movie instead of watching one. What do you mean instead of? Were you going to do something else tonight? For a second, he didn't speak, frozen in place. Then Derek deflated like a free balloon from the shopping street. His shoulders sank low and forward and bent on his knees. Well, actually, we're all gonna go to the movie theaters. Mom, Dad, the bros. It was actually something we knew would be today for a couple weeks. But then you called and you asked me to go to the party, and I said yeah. I didn't even think about how there was already plans for that day. He sneered at himself, eyebrows pinching together tightly. was kind of awkward when I had to tell my parents I couldn't call you back and say I couldn't call you back and say I wasn't going to go after all and beg them to let me miss the movie. Luckily, they could tell this was a matter of life or death and still wanted their son around, so they managed to bring me over. Derek and you were somehow equally shocked by this explanation. Man, I used to remember those things. They were big deals, and now this happens. He sighed, baffled and frustrated. The green-eyed boy had lost the metaphorical keys of his own thoughts. Gotta do better next time. See. If it helps, I'm happy you wanted to see me so much. His physicality perked right up, and standing straight again, a flush rushed over his cheeks that he tried to play off with a joke. It could have been extra embarrassing if you didn't even care if I decided not to come. And I want to say I'm the one who forgot I was doing something and had to skip out on the family movie. You didn't make me abandon them or anything, so I hope you don't feel bad about it. Thanks, Derek. No worries, just checking. Derek scuffled the back of his black slip-on loafers again against the ground as the words faded away. Then he lifted his head to look somewhere past you. Oh, hey, music playing. He spoke softly, like he was afraid of bringing the melodies to an entire end if he interrupted them. But Derek was right. Once you brought it to the front of your mind, the rest of the world came back in, the sounds of delicate plucks on strings included. There was no crowd gathering to dance, only a few couples spread out across the space. You must have missed the initial scream of the soiree attendees. It had grown late. Well, since you're here already and everything, would you want to dance with me? The question ended on a hopeful upward inflection. He bounced on his heels once to punctuate it. Derek stopped breathing entirely when the sentence was complete. Would you like to dance with me?
Nice!
Yes. Derek's cheer was pure carefree even. The worries from right before vanished as quickly as he forgot in the movie. There was a trend with him. With you. Sweetly, he brought up a hand for you to take. You wrapped yours around his, and it was still a bit sweaty from earlier, though so was yours. You took a wide open floor and turned to face each other directly. Raising the one arm with Derek's, you positioned your other hand onto Derek's at the same time. You followed your move with sharp focus. Your bodies were close enough that there was enough of a size difference that you had to tilt your head down to look at your partner for the dance. When your eyes met, you felt your hand being squeezed much more tightly than Derek probably realized, and Derek's face had gone a deep shade of red. You tentatively move as one, Derek stepping slightly, never so much as pinching your tip of your toes. Each way transitioned better than the last, though there wasn't much of a flow. Derek danced more like a machine, clinking exactly into place at the right intervals. There was a tension in Derek that, for the second time in a few minutes, he tried to laugh away.
Hey.
Check it out, we're totally dancers. They should have let us join the other party. His stiffness on the delivery makes the line funnier. You had to crack a smile. Derek left the conversation drift away, focus returned on completely to the proper performance. God, definitely a lot of adorableness. He leaned over and rested your cheek on his head. Because I hate being adorable. Because I am temporarily transformed back in when I was a kid. Derek gulped but pressed deep into the touch. His warmth spread through you more wonderfully than the melodies swirling around. You were happy. Eventually, the last guest of the return to the table's rest was only you and him left there. In a small voice, Derek let you in on what was on his mind. Hey, sorry I kind of missed the party. I should have made you take me around everywhere. Hey, I've been a ton to these parties. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, thanks. I like hanging out tonight. I'm still having fun at the exact seconds. I'm really glad I brought you. The tips of his eyebrows dug low into his face. He was serious.
Really?
You mean it? Yes, I really mean it. You brought him to a loss of words. Or actually, it was a point where any words he wanted to say only got stuck at the end of his tongue. He opened his mouth with a question, then closed it again without asking. Derek? He instantly shook his head, not letting you speak anything you might have wanted to say.
Forget it.
It's nothing. Well, would it be way too much to say thanks for bringing me again? It's okay. Blissfully in with a dizzied tote, Derek grinned at that charming smile of his. You always knew Derek was a friend you can count on. Even for something as formal as a summer soiree, you could relax. The feeling of connection was mutual. Derek was buzzing with the kind of energy you only got when you're bouncing off the best company. It made Derek break off out of self-imposed mood. He tucked his left hand around your back and spun the both of you around. Whoa.
Let's go.
Let's dance. You answered by shifting your own hand to hold on more tightly. Cool. The two of you twirled around like ballerinas. You pushed and pulled your bodies apart and back together. As your mom would have said, you cut a rug across the soiree floor. Somehow, you felt like a kid again, where it didn't matter what you did or who might be watching. The world was yours to enjoy. Derek had clearly embraced that mindset with a low impromptu tap dancing to the beat, bringing you along the way. You cheered and laughed together until you lost your breath, and even so, you still kept going. Then, all too soon, the song reached its conclusion. You could have continued quite contently for some time more. You and Derek let your arms drop down in front of you, though one hand stayed linked with his. Your feet remained rooted where they were. Derek let your arms shrink together between you and him like you were little kids in the playgrounds. He took the initiative to finish the performance with a flair by giving a properly formal curtsy, while still letting go of you. Derek crossed his legs and swept his back down. Legs bent, he lifted his head to face you and winks. Somehow, you found some giggles left inside. And you heard your mom call out, and Derek gasped. You both spun to find Mom yelling for you and Derek. Besides you, Mom was shaking her head.
Sorry.
It's time to go home, Lonnie. I had to get a hold of them somehow. What do you want me to do? Sneak up on them? Wait, it's time to go home. Lonnie, I had to get a hold of them somehow. What do you want me to do? Sneak up on them? Her chosen method was definitely admittedly better than that, but the timing was still terrible. Derek breathed a sigh of relief after the shock wore off. The shout had found him right back into earlier in the evening when the unknown adults were also yelling at you. He lifted one cheek up with a lopsided smile.
Ew.
Why is that grin just so adorable? Looks like we're getting away with it. The getaway right is here. The two of you shared a private laugh while your parents watched the reaction and confusion. You were glad you got the chance to dance with Derek after all of your misadventures at the party. Despite the minor spook, thanks to your mom, it had been a perfect night ending to the evening, and it had some time to end. You didn't need to say anything to him. The two of you strolled together again over to your parents, who were still bickering playfully. Hello, Miss Mare. Standing shoulder to shoulder, the two surveyed you and Derek. You wondered if they were checking that you were returning the Cesare son in the same state that he had left the house.
So?
That was quite the night, huh, gang? Wasn't it just? I think it was pretty unforgettable. Derek's face had a full grin, and while the words weren't in response to your parents, he looked directly at you when he said it to them. Thanks for bringing us. Mom was smiling, too, with an expression so soft it could have been cradled as a newborn chick. Good. Well, we better hustle. First stop is bringing Derek home, and it's already getting late. Elizabeth will have the place to herself for a while longer. If we're lucky, our house might still be standing when we get back.
Pam!
Oh, shush. She swatted at your mom playfully, laughing at the comments. You cast one last look at the party. You saw people exchanging farewells and suppressing yawns. Most of the faces were happy ones, despite the weirdness that was starting to creep in. Derek lingered near you, waiting. The pair of you were going to be left behind at the rate your things were going. Turning away from the final moments of the summer soiree, you were left feeling grateful that you had such good guests to keep you company the whole way through. You both easily caught up with your moms. They hadn't gone far. Together, the four of you navigated the crowd parking lot filled to the brim with cars from the other visitors. Ma, unfortunately, couldn't remember exactly where the car was. It is a short game of extra elegant or extra ridiculous, depending on your view. Hide and seek with a car to locate the familiar vehicle in the back corner of the lot. You clambered inside, and Mom hit the road. It would be a while before you arrived at Derek's home, so you let yourself settle in against the seat. You sunk lower and rested your head against the car door. Little blurs of light flashed one after the other as the car sped past street lamps lining the almost empty road. After more than 10 minutes of silence, Derek extended his arms and legs all the way out while lifting them in the air and pegging it with a wide yawn. Yawn. You look like a sleepy little starfish. Derek glanced at you, though squinted eyes, a soft smile placed a large gape in his mouth before. In the darkness of the back of the car, you rocked gently from the vibration. He whispered to you, "You're great." Oh. "You're really cute." "Thanks." His eyes felt closed, the ends of his lips still pulled up. "Do you think that brown-eyed dancer even made it to the soiree?" "I bet he did, Derek." "Yeah." Finally, you arrived at the condo complex. Your moms insisted on escorting Derek to his actual house. He didn't protest. You, of course, tagged along too. You had a chance to stay with Derek for longer. It was up a short walk to his building, though the moderately decorated lobby up on the floor across the hall to Derek's front door. You paused for the journey for a second to give you a warning. Would have to be going really quiet. It's past my brother's bedtimes. You and your moms nodded at the group as a group. Mom and even went the extra mile by making a mock zipping gesture across his lips. That was enough for him, and Derek shoved a hand deep into his gray dress pants. He retrieved a loop of shiny silver keys. He cycled through the first couple in the ring before carefully gripping the one he needed. It was slotted into the keyhole, twisted, and the door was tucked open. Like, how many keys does a 13-year-old need? Like, I mean, obviously an apartment complex that maybe a key for a mailbox if that's a thing that exists. And a key for obviously the apartment. It's like, that's 2. If there's something else entirely, maybe 3. But I can't imagine there'd be too many other keys that he would need. Derek went straight in. You followed on his heels, with Mom behind you and Mom inside last. She shut the door. Lights were on the main room, but it was empty space. None of the 4 people here could be seen. The only sound was the clinking rumbling of an active dishwasher. Derek bobbed his stretched out hands low and back up, gesturing like a team captain for you to hold the line. Your mom gave the thumbs up. He tiptoed down the hall, hunching his shoulders up high. When he reached the last door at the end, he shifted from an almost crouching to extended out of his tallest height, then gave Derek the door with a few light knocks. Mr. Soiree answered, his features lit up seeing who was there. Miss Soiree joined her son and her husband right after. Mouths opened and closed as they had an inaudible conversation on the other side of the condo. The lips shut when Derek pointed to the entryway. Both Soiree parents took a step out of the room, one in front of the other. They easily spotted your family there, huddled together in your formal attire. The 3 of you stayed put while they crowded through the hall. The room came alive with pleasant greetings between the 2 pairs of grown-ups, though all in hushed tones. They offered a hello to you next.
Welcome.
Welcome to our home, Mayor family.
So good to see you.
So good to see you again. Hi, we returned your kid in one piece. Thank you, I see that. Hey, Mom, hey, Dad.
Hello.
Hello, Derek. Sorry for keeping him out so late. Right, for a mostly elderly crowd, those country club go-getters were sure liking partying to the wee hours of the night. From the side, Mr. Soiree snickered. Apologies to Nicholas. Derek picked up on the low comment loud and clear, made his teeth clench.
Aww.
He threw a fit, huh? The chuckles grew into a fearful of the obscure laughter.
Yes.
He was trying to drown us all in tears when the time came to sleep, and his most loved person still wasn't home. Gina wasn't pleased either in his way. In contrast to the father's tickled amusement, Derek's mom frowned. She rubbed the opposite sides of her forearm, with her hands crossed over her chest.
Don't worry about that.
Derek and Luna can't be blamed for that. This was an important night. Yes, it is. Shh. Derek and his mom brought a finger to their lips to hush Mrs. Soiree in a united chorus of disapproval. Derek's dad chuckled softly under his breath, rustling his beard. Got to impression he knew exactly what their reaction was going to get, and was done on purpose. He played an innocent and simply continued with what he wanted to say.
So?
How was the party? Fun? He tucked a finger into the edges of his vest, puffing up his chest. I know all of our children were prepared to accompany someone to a proper social gathering. One day when you're older, you can come up with me to business dinners. Mr. Cesare's genuine pride over the whole event felt like foreign language in comparison to your mom's love of teasing. But for Derek, that nod of approval made him just as bashful as your parents could do to you. We had a nice time, thanks, Dad. Mr. Cesare beamed and gave children an encouraging pat on the cheek, squashing his face with both hands.
That's great.
That's what we hope to hear. Thank you for letting Derek come with me to the party.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, Luna. I wouldn't have wanted him to miss it. His parents were so nice, but that wasn't a surprise. Derek had to get it from somewhere. Yeah, he's definitely nice. And have no fear, Junior Nicholas will account the movie so well it will be as well as if you saw it yourself. I already feel as though I have watched it myself 3 or 4 times. That's why I'm not surprised. It was meant to be a further encouragement, but the weight of self-imposed shame brought Derek's head down. His mom watched over him, her mouth opened slightly before she had a chance of words to say. Were you stressed about that tonight? Not coming to the movie with us?
Maybe.
Maybe a little.
No more.
Derek, you have nothing to be guilty over. End of discussion. No more feeling sorry. Derek's dad followed up with that wholehearted agreement. When will there be another day to attend the summer soiree? A movie can be rented out after it leaves the theaters. It will wait for you as long as you want. And so will we. We're not going anywhere. Derek finally let himself embrace the fact that he's done something just for himself, and that was alright. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. He stood a little taller and seemed a little more grown up. Exhaling long and slow from his nose, Mrs. Cesare spoke peacefully.
Young love is a beautiful thing.
Shush! You questioned if you actually heard that right until you heard Derek.
What?
Shut what? He might have not have heard himself, though. Derek was in such a shock he shouted out in a volume so high that you never expected from him, at the worst possible time for it. A bushy brow raised from Mrs. Cesare's head. He frowned, earnestly bemused. What? Was that wrong? Derek snapped back with a pained frustration. There was an audible whine in his tone. We're not in love. And then tiny rapid footsteps thumped across the hardwood. The echoes moved with purpose, and they were coming closer. Oh no, of course it's the little kids. Accepting a sigh to brought your attention away from the incoming commotion. Mrs. Cesare folded her arms across her chest. Well, he's up. Derek clasped a hand to his face. He winced partially from the impact of that, but mainly from the consequences of his earlier actions.
I hate to say it. I hate to say it.
I had to chase you off. We're gonna have to get Nicholas back into bed where he belongs. Time to call it a night, everyone. Oh no, I understand completely. Elizabeth was quite a handful when she was little. She still is, in different ways. A prim smile remained in place on Maud's face, but there was a smirk twinkling in her eyes. Derek's mom rested on her hands back on her hips as she laughed musically. I say, Nicholas, having the energy of 3 is a price I must pay for what angels Derek and Georgie are. We'll survive it together. The 2 sets of parents exchanged the briefest goodbyes with each other, but they weren't any less friendly. There was no time to waste. Night, Luna. Sorry about this. The party was great. So, the perfect gentleman, huh? So trying, maybe. He waved with a sleepy softness while you ushered out by Mom and Ma. Before your mom could pull out the Sorze's front door completely shut, a final screw escaped from the crack. Adorable Nicholas. And with that was followed by the click of lock in place. Derek had officially been returned to his family, and he was no longer your guest. Mom's heels clicked down the complex hallway with her head high and grim playing out in her face. Now that's one way to end the night. I agree, Pam. If only Elizabeth would welcome us into her home with the same level of enthusiasm. They both laughed, covering their mouths and trading glances like schoolgirls. You stiffly followed behind your parents, still in a daze over what Mr. Cesare said. It was hard to believe that actually happened. As your mom had said, their first independent formal party ended on a very memorable note. And with that, I'm kind of curious. Oh, I can only do one soiree. Interesting. I'm gonna save this on page 20. And I'll probably reload from this save to do the rest of the events and decide on which soiree I want to do next time. So, and then just make the same decisions I did before, depending on which soiree, like, basically to end up deciding which soiree I want to go with, because it's a pretty big deal. So, and I hope with that, I hope you guys have a good day, night, week, month of your lives, and may the stars forever guide your path wherever they might lead you into the future. Bye-bye, and hope to see you next time.